Hey, this is Liz.
And this is Heather.
And we are Nerdy Bitches Podcast.
A show where two geeky ladies podcast their way through pop culture.
From movies and TV to our regular book club and everything in between, we bring you our favorite fandoms with a feminine eye.
We're talking Star Wars, Star Trek, Harry Potter, DC, Marvel, comic books, and anime.
And don't forget sci-fi, fantasy, action movies, video games, D&D, board games, and so much more.
Be sure to check us out on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, Podbean, or wherever you find awesome podcasts.
You can also find us hanging out on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, and at nerdybitches.com.
Talk to you soon.
Mommy, this circular content that is not suitable for kids like me.
I'm sorry.
You'll be fine.
Okay. I'm so prepared.
Mm-hmm. Welcome to Crime Crazy, the weekly true crime podcast with Eryn Plime and
David Plime,
where we prove
we know nothing about the legal system,
but we're still crazy for a good true crime story.
All right.
I love the look that you gave me while you said that. Like, I might actually know this. I've heard it once or twice.
I was trying really hard.
I know. I could tell by your face. So this week, we have another guest co-host who found out he was going to be the guest co-host like, I don't know, an hour ago?
About an hour ago, yeah.
About an hour ago.
Yeah, I'm all in.
Yeah. So I have conned my lovely husband, who never listens to our show.
No.
Never. Into, I mean, he does because it's in the house and he gets to hear it.
I hear the live version.
Yes. And then also the late Monday night, why the hell do I podcast while I'm editing version?
Yeah, I hear that version too.
Mm-hmm,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, you're here to listen to our story.
Yes. I was told that I would be told a story. So
Yes.
I'm ready.
Oh, well, I'm excited. I have a crazy story for you.
I'm excited too.
Also, I said our story, but really I meant my.
Right.
My
It's
story?
your story. I will participate. I'll make it ours.
Okay.
Okay.
So, as you may or may not know, as a non-listener, I'm going to shame you the whole time, by the way.
Okay. That's fine. I accept that.
Okay. We usually start with a quick talk about something we've learned this week.
Okay. Fantastic.
So I've learned something this week. It's really useful and like pertinent to our lives.
Okay. I'm ready.
Have you learned anything this week?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I've been learning some stuff.
Do you want to go first or do you want me to go first?
Well, mine's really boring.
Okay. Go ahead and do yours.
Okay.
I need a little rest anyway. Go ahead.
Okay. That's fine.
Okay.
This week I was learning about Python coding. So that was kind of fun. Mm-hmm. But that's what I learned, how to define functions and make them accept parameters and give back arguments, or accept arguments, give back parameters and values, that sort of thing. That's what I've been playing with. So that's what I've been learning this week.
I just need to know if this is going to make my house smarter.
Directly, maybe not right now.
But
Eventually.
if it gets you a good job, then we could buy more smart stuff. Is that...
Right. Probably, yes.
Okay. I was thinking like it'd be really fantastic if I could control the blinds with my voice. That's the thing that I've been wanting to do since we went to Vegas last year, and that's how the hotel room worked. And I was like, that's really useful.
That would be really useful. I think that takes quite a bit more hardware as well.
I feel like we just need a motor, and then you need to code a plug.
Right, that's the hardware that I was talking about. Like our current blinds, you just pull them up or down.
I know, but I think a motor would be easy to find. I feel like we could go to Lowe's and buy a little motor, and then you just code it.
Like maybe you could do that with Lego Mindstorm or something.
Oh,
That would probably be the way to go on that
it's a
one.
whole new world. Legos and Smart House. Oh, man.
Yeah, you could probably end up building like a Lego Mindstorm and then hooking it up to Alexa, and so like an Alexa could give the commands to the Lego engine.
Yeah. Also, doesn't our vacuum hook to Alexa? Like, how come we haven't done that yet?
Oh, right, the little robot vacuum.
Yeah, Ben, the cleaner.
He does. He's hooked to my phone.
Yeah, well, he should be hooked to Alexa.
I suppose then you can tell Alexa to turn him on.
Right. Tell Alexa to turn him on. It sounds so dirty.
That's good robot loving right there.
I mean, everyone should have love.
Right.
Who are we to deny them this special connection of unfulfilled arousal?
Right. The big giant Alexa tower and the robot on the ground.
Right.
They will never touch.
No.
It's like
they
Romeo
really
and
have
Juliet
no way
on the
to
balcony.
touch.
You
Yeah.
just can't quite get there.
Yeah, that's really depressing. Okay, so really we're protecting her than him. Okay.
All right, what did you learn this week?
Okay, so I learned about icicles this week.
Okay.
This has been sort of my theme. I've been going back and forth between like just weird random shit and like it's cold outside. So icicles, we had really cold weather and then we had a lot of snow and then it was sort of warmer, right? Because apparently it has to warm up to snow, which is terrifying to think about. And then we had all these icicles and I don't know if you like looked at them. So when I'm driving, I never get to look at icicles because I'm like concentrating so hard and staying on the road, which is covered in ice. But when Amanda was here, she drove everywhere because I think that's like a rule. I don't know, but it's my rule.
She just drives, yeah.
Yeah, she drives. And so I got to look at the icicles and there were buildings with these huge, like insane sheets of icicles, like millions of little, but they reached all the way down to the snow and they were
wow.
just insanely cool looking, right? And I was like, man, that is so cool. And Amanda said, it's really not. And then I was upset. So
Why is it not cool?
So it turns out that if you get an icicle coming down off of a roof, it is because your roof is not properly insulated. And if your roof were properly insulated, you probably would not end up with icicles. And so the reason that is the case is because in order for the snow or ice on the roof to melt, while it is still cold enough outside to freeze it as it drips into the air, the roof has to be giving off heat, which you do not want to happen.
Right.
And so you can kind of like drive around the neighborhood and go, they need their roof fixed. They need their roof. Oh, their roof is good. They need their roof fixed. So I'm happy to report we only have a couple areas with icicles.
Right, yeah, ours looks pretty good. Our neighbor actually next door, their entire like side that faces us over their porch.
Over their porch. Oh yeah, I bet. Yeah. So that could be intentional though, if it's like a porch that they're heating, but it's not really a living area.
Sorry,
that could be okay.
They've got the outside deck, and it's like the roof that's right above their outside deck. So I don't think it's supposed to be.
It's not intentional.
Yeah.
Well, they need a new roof, or at least some new insulation.
I can tell you that our neighbor across the street was actually telling me the other day, as he was snowblowing our driveway with me.
Yeah, our neighbors are amazing, by the way.
He was telling us that another one of our neighbors, 2 houses down, was actually the contractor that fixed the roof for this house a number of years back.
Oh.
And so that's why our roof is actually all taken care of.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
So they just need to come in, though, because I'm noticing some spots on the ceilings that were not there when we moved in.
Well, yeah. But luckily, that's not our problem in a few months.
Well, like a year and a few months. Yeah. Cool. So, yeah, that's what I learned. Icicles. Icicles and Python. I saw a really funny meme about Python today on Reddit.
Did you?
Yeah, it was this guy, and so it was just a photo, and it was a guy, and he's standing in front of like a projector board, which has like unreadable writing up on it. And there are these 2 giant snakes, and they're both like facing the board and like reared up a little bit. So their heads are up like they're attending class. And the first person said something like, I just find the lack of context in this image absolutely delightful. Like, what the fuck is going on? I mean, these snakes were like 12 feet long. I feel like it was probably a photoshopped image, but still it was pretty great. And the next person said, obviously it's an intro to Python coding class.
Right.
It was great.
Perfect. Yeah. Python coding.
Obviously.
Obvious.
What else would it be? It's like how to bite people class. Oh, I learned a little poem this week.
Yes, you were teaching our 6-year-old.
I know, it was great. Roses are red. Here's a short lesson. And then it says, if you ingest it, but I changed it to, if you eat it, it's poison. If it bites you, it's venom.
Right, yeah. Don't mess up poisonous versus venomous around this household.
No, well, and he got it too. He was telling me today that something was venomous. So, do you recognize this woman?
I don't recognize that woman. She's showing me an image of kind of a, I don't know, fairly normal looking lady.
Yeah, how wrong you are.
I never would have imagined she could have done it.
Right.
Whatever she did.
Okay. So are you ready for a story?
I'm ready. I'm prepared.
Format's a little different this week because I'm going to tell you a story, and it definitely ties into my last week's story.
Uh-huh.
But that's it. Then we're going to end the episode. I mean, unless you know of a crime.
I don't.
Okay, then that's it. That's what we're going to do.
You know what? I can tell you a true crime that happened at my work.
I could tell a lot of true crimes that happen at your work, but you might get fired.
No, this is not. This is an interesting, dumb, stupid guy. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
But we'll listen to your story first.
Okay, I'll tell mine and then you tell yours.
Fantastic.
Okay. All right, so last week, I don't know if you know this because, again, you don't listen.
I don't.
You know how many hundreds of hours a week I pour into, not hundreds of hours a week, but like many hours I pour into this podcast and you don't even listen.
No.
You don't even count toward a download.
I'm sorry.
Wow. Just wow. You could at least like have it auto download on your phone and give us a little boost in ratings.
I'll work on that.
Okay.
I'll go get them all.
Okay, so last week I told a story about a girl who her boyfriend was suicidal. They both had psychiatric issues, and one day he had had enough and he was in the middle of a suicide attempt, which he stopped to step away and text her, presumably as like a cry for help. Hey, I've locked myself in my car, trying to kill myself with carbon monoxide. Like, I'm in a bad place right now. And instead of helping her, or instead of helping him, she essentially like picked on him and bullied him into killing himself. And then he did.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And now
So
she's going
like,
to jail for a whole 2 years.
Like a no balls, you won't do it. And then he did.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh,
If you
okay.
really want this as bad as you say you do, you would just go do it.
And just, all right, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, chicken. All right, yeah.
Yeah, no, pretty much. That's exactly how that went. She was evil.
Okay.
So I'm going to continue with the text message theme.
Uh-huh.
And I have found another person that people are probably familiar with. She's been in the news a lot lately because her crime is relatively new. Mm-hmm. She finally, her trial was at least set to start on February 5th. And as it was in Arizona, I don't think weather affected that at all. So.
Right.
So this is the story of Jacqueline AIDS,
Okay. I'm
and
ready.
an unknown victim who I feel like would not be very hard for us to figure out.
Okay.
Okay, so this crazy lady, and I say crazy, that's really not a nice, like, that's not an okay way to say this. This woman has serious mental health issues. Mm-hmm. Also, she did things that are not normal. And they may be related. That is for a jury to decide.
Right. But that's definitely what gets her on this podcast.
That is definitely how she wound up on this podcast. Conveniently, her things she did involve text messaging. So, season 4, episode 5, we're good to go.
All right.
All right. So, Jacqueline was on a dating site, and this dating site is called Luxy.
The dating site is called Luxy.
Luxy.
I'm not familiar with that one at all.
Well, let me tell you why you're not familiar with that one at all.
Okay, go ahead.
So, they verify income on this site.
Uh-huh.
And at least 41% of the people who have verified their income make over $1 million a year.
Oh.
So that's why you're not familiar with this site. Also, you've been married since you were like 8.
Well, right.
So you better not be terribly familiar with any dating site. Do I need to look through your phone?
I mean, like, I know, like, there are dating sites and I see, like, commercials or hear commercials on the radio and stuff for, like,
This one is
this
outside of
dating
your
site
circle.
or that one. So I
Yeah.
know there are dating sites that exist.
None of
but
your coworkers qualify.
Luxis or
Luxy.
Luxy? Luxy
Yeah.
is not one I'd ever heard of, but it's for, like, $1 million people?
Yes.
Interesting, okay.
So their website does say that this is not to make like a sugar mama, sugar daddy kind of arrangement, that this is for like true love. And yet, you get to see what the other person makes and like who they are. And then seek them out to date them without having to prove that like you're in their income bracket. So I don't see how this is anything but a sugar daddy or sugar mama relation,
Right.
but whatever.
So there's like 41% is like mostly the guys that have verified that they make over $1 million.
or the women, and then the rest.
the
Yeah.
other people are like, yeah, okay, I'll take you. Even though I
Right.
know nothing else about you, but you make over $1 million a year, so that's good enough.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, depending on what you're looking for, it's not a bad, because if you're making that kind of money, you probably also aren't home very often.
Maybe.
Yeah. But then you do put yourself in a really weird power dynamic right from the start.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter because you are not allowed to use this website
I'm not? Okay.
or this app. No. Okay.
All right.
You're like my only guest where I can be like, no, let me dictate your life for you right here.
All right. I'll just use the other 10 that I don't know names of.
Grinder.
There you go. Grinder, Tinder. What is it? Bumble.
Yeah.
What's some? Ashley Madison is the cheating one, right?
And then eHarmony.
Is it
Or
eHarmony?
Our Time. You should use Our Time because
Our
you're
Time?
really old.
Was it like Christian Mingle though? Isn't there that?
Oh,
one
yeah.
too?
That one's probably pretty good. It's probably full of kinky shit, really.
I don't imagine that it's like the cleanest of them.
No, I'm sure it's rough. So, Jacqueline got on this site and I'll just, spoiler alert, was not part of the 41% that made over $1 million.
Okay.
She is self-employed.
Okay. So yeah, not the $1 million crew probably.
No, not so much. So she says she's this word is so hard for me to say. Esthetician?
Esthetician? Is that like makeup?
Yeah, I think it could also be like hair and facials and like I think anything in that category. I'm not really sure, but also it's a really hard word to say.
Sort of like spa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But
with it.
self-employed, so really that could mean all kinds of things. Also from Florida, so God only knows.
Florida man. Yeah. Okay. Carry on.
Yeah. I had a dream that I woke up and I was looking outside and I'm like, I don't understand why there's so much snow. I moved to Florida. Why is there so much snow? I think I spent too much time researching Florida crimes.
Right.
So she went on a date with somebody who was in that over $1 million bracket.
Uh-huh.
He is the CEO of a company that sells skincare and spa products.
Oh, okay.
So she's probably like, hey, we have something in common. Yeah. Also, you're the CEO of this successful company.
Right. At least we can go on dates and maybe I can get some product to use or sell free or whatever. Sure.
Something. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Reasonable.
So he's from Scottsdale. And he's the CEO of a successful skincare spa product company. Like, I just don't feel like this would be very hard to Google.
Yeah, but
whatever.
Also not important.
We'll respect his privacy for the moment, unless you guys have your phones out and want to Google. So they exchanged several messages on Luxy and eventually decided to go on a date. And they went on the date, and she had found true love. Like the kind of magical true love that you only experience in like fantasy books. And I mean fantasy like Harry Potter, not fantasy like 50 Shades. The kind of pure true love that gives you visions and shit. And then you become a stalker.
So drugs.
It is unclear. This poor woman, I'll tell you. So they went on this one date. He did not find true love on this one date.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, he was not interested. And in fact, after she had texted him, and I don't know how many times she texted him before he was finally like, hey, I don't want to talk to you or see you or have anything to do with you anymore. Like, leave me alone.
Right. Plus, I'm probably really busy making my $1 million.
At least, right?
Yeah.
Also, you're kind of freaking me out, lady. Leave me alone.
Right. If there's a lot of text messages, you start going, hey, chill? Maybe?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, what would you consider a lot of text messages?
Sometimes you see like screenshots of, about a dozen or so text messages like coming in, and the person's just like, please leave me alone now, and like
a dozen,
2 maybe at the most. I would say that if it gets to about the 2 dozen mark, you just start blocking them or something. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a lot.
24, huh?
24 would be a lot.
What if it was more than that?
I would have blocked them at 24, I think. like by the time it got to 12, it would have been like, this is weird, please, stop. And then if it got further to, that turns into just like,
do you want to guess how many
this.
she sent?
If you're looking at me with that sort of face when I say 24, then I'm like 100?
More.
Couple hundred?
More.
Like, how high are we going here?
A lot more.
Who has that kind of time?
Go a lot higher.
Like into the thousands?
Oh, a lot higher.
Like 100,000?
More.
200,000? Like this is
159,000 text messages after he told her he wasn't interested.
What? What? Say that 159,000
text messages.
So reasonably, like a text message a minute? That's a lot of minutes spent.
Do you want to do the math
texting?
there?
Yes, I think I will do the.
Give her like 3 text messages a minute.
3 text messages.
Sure. One of them could be like, I don't know, ILY or BRB.
Okay, so I think I did this right. If it's 3 text messages a minute,
yeah,
and 60 minutes an hour, that's 883 hours
of just solid texting,
which is 36 days.
36 days of no sleeping, eating.
Right, if you're just sending
breathing,
text
just
message
3
after
text messages a minute.
Yeah, that's
for over a month of solid time.
36 days of her life sending text messages to this person.
Guys, I have a challenge for you. For the next 15 minutes, I would like you to send Crime Crazy 3 tweets a minute. Just for the next 15 minutes to get an idea of what this woman went through.
Like this insanity. Oh my goodness. Wow. That's a lot of text messages. I feel like this like definitely goes beyond harassment. Is that why she's...
Oh, yeah. No, that's not why she's in trouble.
Oh, so, okay.
Yeah, so the text messages at first were all very much, I love you and can I see you, blah, 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 that kind of thing. And then, they progress and they get a little scarier and a little scarier. And although she has since said that she's fine if he doesn't want to be with her, some of the text messages were downright threatening.
Right. Be with me or I'll murder you and your whole extended family or something like that, right?
I mean, that's nice. How about I would wear your fascia and the top of your skull and your hands and feet?
That's creepy.
I'd make sushi out of your kidneys and chopsticks out of your hand bones. It is both creepy and amusing.
Well, I just immediately was thinking, like, hand bones aren't that long. Those would be short chopsticks.
It's true. I mean, it seems like a good idea, but once you take all the connective tissue apart, you just got these little tiny, like...
Those would be short I'm worried about myself a little bit that's my issue with this.
Well, no, so when I read that one, I was like, okay, but which bone... Like, maybe if we splinter, like... your leg bone, and then we could just take 2 it was
right you could like shave down the was it the fibia tibia leg bones, or the lower arm bone,
part of a rib,
ulna radius, I think. All right,
but I feel like ribs are not straight enough. I feel like leg or arm is really where you got to go. There's not a whole lot of other options there.
Then you probably have to like shave them down a little bit, but you could probably
I feel like
there.
if they were dried out enough and you just smashed them with a hammer, they'd splinter. Okay, this is getting gross.
But definitely not finger bones.
No, that doesn't make any sense.
No.
Oh, what I would do with your blood, I'd want to bathe in it.
As she was typing that, in her 3-day splurge of nonstop typing, which she
36.
She didn't really do 36 days. Sorry. But as she was typing that, did she like at some point in time, she just has to think to herself, right? Like, this isn't normal.
Right. Yeah. So for 16 months, he told her, go away, leave me alone. I don't want to have anything to do with you. Well, she texted in this.
So over the course of 16 months, she spends 36 plus days.
Solid days.
Solid days. Okay. Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a full-time job.
Yeah.
I mean, because realistically, she's not sending 3 texts a minute. She's spending hours and hours and hours each day texting.
Right.
So at that point, she decided that she needed to take their relationship to the next level.
What?
So later when she was
going the wrong way.
explaining to police like what all was going on here, she said that she had made up the story in her head where they were lovers and she lived with him. And so she decided that she should probably, get on that now. And so she broke into his house and bathed in his tub, which is where police found her.
So better than bathing in his blood.
It's true.
In his
It's
tub.
true.
But,
I mean, they confronted her about that. And they said, if you love him so much, why would you threaten to, he's not going to survive you bathing in his blood and eating his kidneys with his finger bones. Why would you say those things? Mm-hmm. And she said, they were just jokes. Or she would never actually do them unless they had been together and then he left her. But it was okay because they'd never been together. And so it was okay that he didn't want to be with her. She understood. She just hoped that somebody would love him because he was really lovable and had a lot to give, and somebody needed to be with him.
Finger bones and kidneys.
Yeah.
So these are not jokes, haha. These are jokes
Yeah. Well, I mean, she thought the skull thing was funny.
So still no.
Still no. So it sounds like when she was arrested, that as they're confronting her with all of this evidence, because he had been calling the cops. This woman is not leaving. There's harassment. There's blah, blah, blah.
At what point in time did the cops get involved? Over the course of 16 months, she's sending him all these text messages
Well, and he's a high-profile person. I feel like he'd have some pull. Yeah.
Right. You start going, hey, guys, somebody look into this?
I don't think I would make it that long. A month?
Well,
no, if somebody was texting me like that, I would contact the police within days, I think. That many text messages and I say leave me alone and they don't. No, although I'm a woman, so it is different, right? A man would feel threatened in a different way.
Right. I probably would not feel physically threatened at all. I'd just be like, this lady's crazy.
Even when she's chopsticks, fingers.
Well, right.
I got it.
I think it would probably take me. Well, I don't know. Again, I'm not in the situation, but maybe I would have lasted a month.
Yeah.
Before it was just so annoying to me that it was just this has got to stop. But nothing. They didn't stop her obviously for 16 months. So what was happening on the police side of this investigation for 16 some odd months? I mean,
I am really unclear about all of that, and I suspect that we'll hear more as the trial happens, and she has pled not guilty. I know that kind of thing is a little hard to prosecute depending on where you are, because she's not physically harming him. She's not stealing from him. She's not there's not a whole lot of crime being committed. There's not a lot of law around that.
At least at a minimum, she's very clearly threatening him, and that's the assault part, right?
Yeah. The other thing about it is, in 16 months and almost 160,000 text messages, he never changed his number.
Right? Or just blocked her number. You can turn that off.
Yeah, but because that's a couple keystrokes. I feel like she must have had a way around that. I can block your number, but that doesn't stop you from texting me. It just stops you from texting me from that number. That's really easy to get around. True. Now, that would add to that 36 solid days of texting while I create new accounts. Right. But, yeah. So Jacqueline, when they found her in the bathtub and they arrested her, they asked, can we go get your purse out of your bag or your bag out of your car? And she was like, yeah, and let him in, which also shows that she wasn't trying to cover up this crime. I feel like she has a really good case for there is something mentally wrong with me that I am unable to understand the consequences of my actions or, whatever. I feel like she needs to be hospitalized instead of institutionalized in like a prison.
Right. She wasn't dodgy about the whole thing. She was like, I am in this bathtub. I should be here. We're in love.
Pretty much. Well, no, she didn't even think he was in love with her. She fully understood that he didn't. She just wanted to see what it was like and so broke in and saw nothing wrong with that. Also, she had a giant knife on her passenger seat.
Oh, well, there's the blood thing.
Yeah. The officers didn't actually ask her about the knife that she had with her because they had asked her so many questions previously and she would answer, like just answer, but it made no sense. And so they didn't think they were going to get anything out of her. And so they didn't confront her with that. Like, why would you have this? But she was charged with first-degree criminal trespassing of a residential structure, which is a Class 6 felony.
Okay.
And then they released her, but on multiple occasions, she didn't show up for her court dates. So, she was then arrested on suspicion of stalking and harassing, and they took her off to jail, and her trial was supposed to start on the 5th of February, outcome pending. Right?
Yeah, I guess I'm really still hung up on this like whole 16 months of harassment and assault and threatening messages mixed in with whatever other messages, because there's 160,000 of them almost.
Yeah.
And like nothing happened during all of that time. That part seems bizarre to me. It took her breaking into this guy's house and getting in his bathtub before she was ever arrested at all. But like, I feel like there's definitely some stuff before that qualifies for at least,
it's
an
not
arrest
that,
and an indictment and a something.
Yeah, and it's not that nothing had happened before that, because she was aware that he had been calling the police on her, and that, and so they had at least contacted her with like a cease and desist kind of thing. She knew that was going on. It didn't stop her, and it's unclear whether or not it angered her to the point where, because the threatening things did not start at the beginning, right? It took a while before she became threatening in her messages. So that could have been in response to police coming to her house and, threatening arrest or whatever.
Right, but
yeah, no, I don't know why.
Yeah, it just seems like at some point in time, some detective shows up at the house and is like, "Here's the transcript of the last 50,000 text messages you've sent at this point in time. Some of these are kind of threatening, and
you need to come with us."
You come with us. They, take her away to get like some mental treatment potentially. It might be
right.
What they, put her in a I don't know.
Just at least like a psych hold. Just monitor her for 72 hours and see.
Like
yeah.
Take her phone away for a week.
Something. I've got to figure though. Like, I have to believe that she was not on a phone. To send that number of text messages, I don't know. I guess that's just me personally. I can send a hell of a lot more text messages when I'm typing them on the computer than when I'm. But also, I'm more comfortable on the computer than typing.
I guess
on the
I
phone.
would probably like get you around texting from a number that he could block.
But you could go on his site and send them from random numbers every time.
Right.
Although they have printouts of some of these text messages, and I'm not sure if they are printouts from his phone, but they're all like in the same conversation block. Okay. So at least large chunks of them were all sent from the same number.
Right.
So yeah, and it could even be that some of these hearings that she failed to show up for were for other things. But I just have to say, if I report to the police that someone is this insistent on getting my attention and it's making me uncomfortable and they're threatening, and then I come home and find them in my house,
right,
I feel like I've got a couple cases going on here, and one of them is not against her.
Well, right, yeah, that's the other thing. I wonder if there's going to be any sort of like fallout from
Lawsuit,
this.
yeah.
Lawsuit against the police. Like, why did you not do anything at all during
Right.
this? Like, and again, this is a 16-month period.
Yeah.
That's
and I feel
a
like
lot
that
of
would be fair.
time for somebody to do
Yes.
something. If he's making phone calls to the police, presumably at least once a month, to say this is still happening, let's do something.
Do something. Yeah, I don't know. And I guess, I mean, we don't know anything about him. Like, is he always on his phone, or does he just happen to have a phone number and occasionally would look and see 100,000 new messages from her, you know?
Right.
Or is this like his number that he set up specifically for this dating site? And so it's not, you know, whatever. But she apparently had at least enough information to get inside of his house while he was not home, pour herself a bath, get all comfy and naked. Yup.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess that could be the other thing. Potentially this is just his dating site phone, but
I mean, that
still.
would be the smart way to do it. If you're a millionaire on a dating
Right.
site for millionaires, you don't give out your personal phone number.
Right. But it's still, at that point in time, it's got to be annoying if this thing is going off, or has, you know, another 1,000 messages every time he looks at it at the end of the day or something like that. You know, especially if he is legitimately trying to find somebody to date, and like there's all this noise that he's got to sift through. Like, that would be annoying as much as anything else. But you know, some of these messages that she was sending were downright threatening. I want to bathe in your blood. I want to, you know, chop up your fingers and eat your kidneys. Like,
it's problematic,
right?
to say the least.
And that's a death threat, right?
Also, kidney sushi. Gag.
Yeah,
I'd rather bathe in blood than eat kidney sushi.
Ugh.
I have no clue how I'm going to tie this to another story. I feel like cannibalism is coming back, guys.
Maybe, but I'm just concerned that, like, I'm curious actually now, like, what specific legal laws, you know, that she broke.
Yeah.
I'm just sort of vaguely
We know
thinking,
nothing about our legal system.
right.
That's part of our intro.
I'm generally thinking that these are, you know, threatening messages is sort of on the assault side of things, obviously breaking and entering, and that's...
Yeah, well, I don't know anything.
I wonder what else they can, like, pin on her or whatever else.
Yeah, well, and I don't know anything about, like, Arizona's stalking laws, if they have any.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, you know, did she have to do anything illegal in order to come by his address, or was that publicly available? I mean, obviously she broke into his house. That's a big problem.
Right.
She failed to show up for court dates. That adds to time. But in the end, I don't know that it matters. She needs to be hospitalized and medicated.
Right.
She needs to be kept away from people. She is definitely, clearly a danger to herself and others. So, you know, throw all the crimes at her you want. I don't think she should go to jail.
I don't
think she should be free.
She needs, some psych process, and it could be that if she goes to a psychiatric ward for some extended period of time or whatever else, and she talks through her behaviors versus normal societally acceptable behaviors and the differences and the consequences and so on and so forth. Maybe that she gets better about that and can move on with her life.
I feel like they're the extremes, and I'm not a doctorologist.
I'm a doctorologist.
I'm not a doctorologist. I'm channeling Diana right now.
Sure.
Diana, I miss you. Although I'm still not the oldest one on this podcast. But I feel like the extremes to which she went seems a pretty clear indication that talk therapy is not going to be enough.
Sure. You know, maybe that there's some sort of medication. But certainly that sort of, you know, psych ward institutionalization
and then
for some
parole
period of time
and
or whatever else, and
absolutely require compliance with her, whatever her therapy is, whatever her
whether that's medication or meetings or both.
Both. I'm going to go with both. Jacqueline, you need both, hon. So that is my super disturbing story for this week.
Yeah, that's creepy.
Yeah.
So I can tell you my story now, but it's not nearly as interesting.
Well, but it's going to lighten the mood, right?
Because it probably ties in with some sort of mental issues, though.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you were following the co-host from last week, Erica told a story about death metal in Norway and or black metal. And there was some cannibalism, some suicide, a lot of music, album covers, collecting of human bones, murders, lots of murders, shooting someone in the back and claiming self-defense. Does your story tie in with any of this?
That's a lot of stuff.
Oh my God, it was a lot.
No, I don't think so. I think you listed a lot of things, but none of them are quite what happened at our store.
This is a work story?
Yes.
I'm excited. All right, tell me the work story.
So,
don't say where your story is or who you work for.
Sure. So we're a company, and we have a flagpole out front. And there was an issue with this flagpole. It actually, one of our other coworkers let go of the flagpole string, and it slipped off. Mm-hmm. And so it took us a good couple of weeks until we could finally find some way to get a cherry picker. We tried to involve the fire department, etc., but they couldn't do it for us. But anyway, we finally found
because this is a big flagpole.
Yes. This is a good-sized flagpole. We finally found somebody, and we got like a little cherry picker, and we got the flag pole wire restrung, and we put up our flag, and we were very excited about finally getting this done.
Right.
And so that sort of debacle, we were like, wow, that's our flagpole story debacle that we've got, right?
Yeah.
Little did we know, about a week later, so we only had this thing up maybe 5 days.
Yeah.
This individual came running out of...
And this is not the individual who let go of the string. It's just a random
This is
individual.
another random individual that we've never seen before. Don't know if
customer,
he's ever
presumably.
been in the business. Like maybe not. But he runs out of a store that's sort of across the parking lot from us. Mm-hmm. And
is this the liquor store?
No, this is a grocery store.
Oh, okay. All right. That's too bad. Liquor store would have been a better story.
But he runs out of there and comes over to our flagpole, sort of, on the front of our building on the side there. And actually, the individual that works with us that had dropped the pole originally is the one that looked out and saw this other random stranger sort of looking at our flagpole and messing with the wire. And so my coworker goes out to look at like what's happening to this flagpole and finds that this random stranger that we don't think we've ever seen before has taken a pair of scissors and is cutting down the wire for our flagpole. He succeeds just before my coworker gets to him, so down comes our flagpole, or our flag, and our flag wire all over again. The individual then, like, as my coworker is calling the police and like sort of following him, this guy goes back to the grocery store that he was just at, only to turn around and immediately run out, dropping things out of his pockets into the trash can. And so apparently he was over there and he had stole some stuff.
He stole the stuff?
From the grocery store.
He'd stole it?
Yes, he stole it. He took some items from the grocery store.
Yes.
He came over to our flagpole to cut it down, went to their flagpole, found out that the bottom of the actual wire was too high for him to get to. So he couldn't cut their flagpole or their flag wire. Mm-hmm. But then he went back into the store, and that's when he was met by the manager and some security from the grocery store. The police were eventually called, and they found the guy, I don't know, blocks down the street. But we still have no idea why he like targeted our flag wire or what.
He just wanted to cut down a flag.
Yeah, maybe he was angry at us. Maybe he was angry at the flag. I don't really. We have no indication about like what his motivation was. But Yeah, so he robbed the grocery store, came over and cut down our flagpole, and then went back to the grocery store, presumably to rob it again, but they met him at the door, so he didn't.
Nice.
Yeah.
So is there a crime there aside from like destruction of property?
Oh, the theft of the grocery store and then
right now, I mean,
destruction
like
of
against
property
you
for us,
guys.
yeah.
Does it count? Like, is there extra because it was a flag?
You know what? I don't know. That would be interesting, like if there's like a tack on because it's desecration of the American flag or something like that. I
Right.
don't know.
I mean, I have personal feelings about how stupid that would be, but
Right.
interesting.
Yeah, FYI,
So-
that was about a month ago. We still do not have a flag.
Well, that was going to be my question: is did you ever get it back up?
No.
How did you get it back up the first time?
Some customers came into our store, but they were driving a truck for their own company they worked for.
Oh, that
there was
happened
a
at-
truck with a
okay.
cherry picker on the back, and we were like, "So hey, can we do you a deal here?" And
Right, we'll
like,
give you free things you came in to get, and you
Right.
put up the flag.
and you put up the flag, and they were very wonderful about it, and they did, and it only took like 5 minutes, so it was super easy. But we haven't seen them since, and we have a second string,
Yeah.
but the grommets that hook onto the flag are not on that second string, so we have to figure all that out, get those grommets placed in the right place, and then
Is
get
the
the string
string-
restrung.
Threaded at all? Like, can you use it to pulley the other string up? Or are you going to have to get
No,
another truck?
when he cut it down, he pulled it down.
This seems like a really poor design.
Right at the top of the pole, it's just a wheel.
Yeah, but this is a poor design if it requires specialist equipment to restring the flag. Because you can cut it with scissors, I have just learned.
This wire for our flag string
Yeah.
is actually like it's nylon rope, but inside is actually wire
And yet,
cable that he still managed to cut. I don't know what sort of scissors.
that's why he had to
going on,
rob
but,
the store. He had to get some new sharp scissors.
like, presumably.
But still, like this is a flawed design. No one is tall enough to reach the top of the flagpole. There should be some
Right.
other mechanism for
Yeah,
restringing the flag.
We tried putting a ladder up against the pole. It was
a disaster.
a bad idea.
An unmitigated disaster.
So
That's a terrible idea. It wasn't even there, and I know.
We attempted to do that for a moment before we were like, no, this is not going to work.
I am embarrassed for you that there was an attempt and it wasn't just a discussion.
Well, we were hoping that the top of the ladder would like the sides of the ladder would stick up higher than the top step of the ladder, which was not the case of the ladder that we had. So when we put the ladder up against the pole, like it was very easy to see from the ground that it was just going to slide off to the side and not like catch itself or anything else.
So you were hoping to kind of balance it on the sticky off end above the top step. And then you were
Worst case scenario,
disappointed
yes.
that was not the way. Okay. Guys, he was way smarter in ninth grade.
I told you, we put the ladder up against the pole and then went, no, this is not going to work.
Before a human being got on it.
No human being got on the ladder.
I mean, that doesn't really redeem you very much.
We put it up there. We went, yeah, this is a no-go. And then we took the ladder back. So
Okay.
we didn't attempt it after looking at it going, I don't think this will work. Let's try it anyway.
Yikes.
No, there was no attempt made.
Okay. Sure. All right. Well, I am glad that manslaughter was not added to the list of charges involved in the flagpole case.
Right. Just a little minor destruction of property, a little bit of theft for the other store. I don't actually know if the guy is like going to be prosecuted or like what's going to happen to him. This was about a month ago or so, but
Yeah. I mean, I would think at most, like, he might be responsible for the cost of the cord, which is probably negligible. Like,
right,
it's not
yeah.
worth anything.
No, certainly not worth prosecutors' time to.
Right. When really, if we were thinking about this in just a fair world, he would have to get it restrung because that's the actual issue.
Right. Like
But-
we have another cord that we can even like hand to him and be like, you do
this.
the hour
Here's a
of work
ladder.
to
We
fix
didn't
it.
think it was safe.
Right. This ladder's not safe for us, but good luck for you.
You did it. Interesting. All right.
So there you go.
Yeah.
We have no flag.
No, I think it's okay.
Yeah, we've gotten like messages, as a corporate or whatever else, where we're supposed to half mast our flag for this, that, the other.
You're like,
Since then, we're like, well,
I mean, I can like tape it a little lower on the flagpole, but
we're so sorry about that. It's okay.
So this is the portion of our podcast where we usually we transition into talking about another podcast. And there are a couple problems with this week. My last several guests have been podcasters, so they told me about their show, but
Right.
you're not a podcaster.
No, and I really haven't listened to much. Like I did listen
You
to.
haven't listened to, there's this true crime podcast I think you would like. It's called Crime Crazy.
I've heard good things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll get on that. I really haven't been listening to too many podcasts. It's just one of those things that I don't do very often. I feel like I should. I want to find time in my day to do that. I did listen to, on your recommendation, a little bit of the binge mode for Game of Thrones.
Yeah, for Game of Thrones. So that's the second problem with this portion of the show is that I am more than halfway through with the binge mode, the last book. The Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. Like they did the first half, then they did the first movie. Somewhere in there they did Fantastic Beasts. I listened to one of them, but I wasn't quite ready to listen to Crimes of Grindelwald yet. So it is only a matter of days or weeks until I am finished with that, and we'll have to move on to another podcast, but I'm still listening to the same one.
Oh, right.
So I don't really have anything new to talk about. I've got some podcasts sitting there. One of them is called Welcome to Night Vale. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
So it's fictional, and it seems to be, I haven't listened to it, but all of the knitters were talking about it. But it seems to be more in the style of like a radio show.
Okay.
And so it is like bulletins or announcements or whatever from this town called Night Vale. But there's a whole, like, it's crazy things happen, and there's like supernatural stuff, I think. And I haven't listened to it yet.
They just put those up on the bulletin board, like, oh, by the way, if you saw flashing green lights from this lady's house, don't worry about that.
Yeah.
She's just a witch.
Yeah, but I think that it's more like, and then you kind of discover it through the announcements. So not so explicit. I don't know. They talked a little bit about it the other day, and it sounded super fascinating and entertaining. And so I subscribed, and it is now on my list. So maybe next week or the week after, I'll have something to say about that. Also, like Diana and Marie and they're all going to be now texting Tuesday afternoon. This is totally wrong. That's not what it's about. You didn't even listen. The background of the image is purple. It looked good.
Gotcha. Okay.
So,
Welcome
yeah.
to Night Vale.
Yeah, it sounded very interesting. I know the podcast that you and I listened to together, and this is going to sound just wrong,
Right.
but My Dad Wrote a Porno.
Which is a fantastic podcast.
Oh my God, it is so delightful.
Are they in
I
season
love
4?
it.
Are they in season 4 right now?
Maybe book 4.
5? Book
I don't
4,
know.
yeah. It's a lot.
It's a
It's a
lot.
lot. Yeah.
It's a lot. But I think I've talked about it before on Crime Crazy. It's I want to say it's satire, except it's not. I mean, it is, but it's
Yeah.
James
it's definitely
and Jamie and Alice.
Definitely Jamie and Alice. Like, James is trying to read the book, and he's adding a little bit of commentary, but he's mostly trying to read the book and do the voices, which is just...
Oh, the accents are amazing.
Yeah.
And the book is what his dad has written, but his dad didn't write it to be satirical or comical. He wrote it because he thinks it's good erotica. Guys, it's not.
It's not.
It's not. It's not.
I believe most of the time when he's describing some sort of scene or whatever else, you're just like, oh, that would be awful.
That's not even anatomically possible.
Yeah, and then, but it's mostly the I think the reactions of Alice and Jamie and how they comment
And
on and
James,
react,
yeah.
and James, but the writing is just hilarious. So.
It's amazing. It is very enjoyable. It is one of those podcasts, though, and there are some shows like this too, where you really have to be a little intoxicated or a little tired or a little giddy, and you can't listen to it by yourself. Like,
Right,
that's
it's
not
definitely like
nearly as funny as listening to it with a friend or a husband or it's amazing. That's amazing. So there are a couple of podcasts to check out. One that I know nothing about and probably got the storyline wrong. And then
one for adults only.
One for adults only. I think it should go without saying, not safe for work. And really, binge mode is not either. I don't know if the Game of Thrones one is like that, but oh my God, there's a lot of talk about wands in the Harry Potter one. A lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of there's a lot of sex in Game of Thrones, and they.
Oh yeah, I guess there just is anyway.
Yeah, I mean HBO. I feel like definitely their first 2 seasons of Game of Thrones. If you've not watched it, then you go. If you have watched it, you probably agree with me. The first 2 seasons of Game of HBO was like super excited that they could show boobs, so they
just did. Yeah. I've heard them, Jason and Mallory, say that about Game of Thrones on the Harry Potter one. They're forever making connections, and I'm like, well, this part is boring for me.
Right.
I just don't care. So, all right. So some good recommendations. We have a new Patreon donor this week. I was going to say that we have new reviews, and I'm fairly certain that we do, but I didn't pull them up because I'm a total slacker, as is evidenced by the fact that I told you an hour ago I needed a co-host.
Right. Well, that's okay though.
So thanks for the reviews. And thank you to our newest Patreon subscriber or our Patreon supporter.
That's really a fantastic thing for them to do for you guys.
It is amazing. We love our Patreon supporters. Like, it's just the best compliment that you could possibly give is like, hey, I'm listening and I care. And now I'm going to give you, $1 a month or whatever. This one is not $1 a month. I also am having trouble finding it. Hold on. So Jess Lee, we think you are amazing, and thank you so much. We are going to do a formal shout out. I think I missed February in all of the chaos. We're supposed to shout out everybody at the first episode of the month, so I'm going to have to get a couple of those in there. But in the meantime, Jess, thank you so much, and welcome to our Crime Crazy family. And you're amazing.
Right, and I apologize if I'm one of the first few episodes you listened to, because while my story was entertaining from my perspective, I don't think it was like
it was enthralling.
It was.
So there was intrigue and drama.
Cut down our flagpole and ran off, and
the stakes were so high.
What would we ever do?
So on that note, if you are enjoying what you're listening to at the moment, or I mean, even if you're not, but mostly if you are, you can leave us a review on iTunes or Google Play or Stitcher or Spotify or anywhere that you listen to podcasts. You can contact us at crimecrazypodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook, Crime Crazy Pod. We have a page which will lead you to 2 different groups, a private one and a public one. So depending on how much your grandma knows about your true crime obsession, choose the group or groups that are right for you.
It's very smart of you guys.
Right? Mm-hmm. We are on Instagram, Crime Crazy Pod, and on Twitter, Crime Crazy Pod. I am thoroughly enjoying Twitter lately. There is such a great community of people listening and making podcasts, especially true crime podcasts. It's great. And we are recently very active in Lady Pod Squad, which is why at the beginning of every episode, you're hearing a different promo for a show from somebody in the Lady Pod Squad, who are just an amazing group of female podcasters.
Fantastic.
Right? I am thoroughly enjoying them. There's a Slack channel. I'm having a blast.
I might listen to some of their podcasts. I don't know.
You could. They're amazing.
I should listen to yours first. Is that fair?
I mean, I do feel like you should probably listen to a couple episodes of your wife's podcast, which is already in season 4.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you paid for all the equipment. You might as well listen.
That's true. I had definitely helped pick stuff out and whatnot too.
I mean, at this point though, like we've got Patreon people helping us out. So still, it would be nice and supportive if you were a good husband.
Listen to your podcast.
If you care as much as you say you do. No.
Got it.
Yeah. So.
Leave reviews on every episode. This one was particularly fantastic.
5-star review. 5-star review. Every single time. So definitely leave a review. We will give you a shout out. Become a Patreon patron. We will give you a shout out and our undying love. And then there are some things that we would like you to remember.
I'm ready.
So I think some good advice this week is, as always, like, don't text about your crimes. I mean, don't commit them in the first place, but if you do, come on. Come on.
Right.
Come on.
Don't text. My takeaway from my story is don't try to rob the same place twice in the same hour. That seems kind of ridiculous.
So Diana has this thing that she says when she's getting frustrated with any other human being, and the percentage varies, but it's generally, I just need people to be 10% smarter. Maybe that's the advice. Guys, as you're going throughout your day to day, just stop, take a breath, and be 10% smarter.
10% smarter.
Actually, our listeners don't fall into that category, but still, it's never a bad thing to attempt to be 10% smarter.
Right, sure.
Call your people.
That's a good advice. I like it.
And don't end up on next week's episode.
As always, solid advice.